Today is Saturday, 17th May 2025. We are gathered here today for the 184th session of Mindfulness for Beginners in English, conducted by Nissarana Vanaya. I would like to welcome Venerable Homagama Dhamma Kusala Thero for this session, and anyone who will be watching via Facebook live stream or listening to it later on. And of course, not forgetting everyone who's joined with us today via Zoom. Our program will commence as usual with the in-session practice of mindfulness. It will be followed by a talk on today's topic. It's nutrition and mental health this week, which is a continuation from last week. Finally, we will be moving on to any reports that we have received and to questions and answers if we have time. And to begin today's session, I will now invite Bhante for the in-session practice of mindfulness.
Thanks, Sonali. Hello, everyone. Today, we have this activity, which is somewhat related to the topic that we are discussing. So I would appreciate if you can gather a piece of paper and a pen. Once you're ready, we can start. Feel free to turn on video and join more actively. So this one, it's an activity about noticing where our attention goes. In a way, naming or labeling the things that come to our mind. That's the idea of this activity. So let's say when we usually function, most of these things we don't notice. Probably the darkness of ignorance. Many things come to our mind. Our attention goes to many things. But most of these things we don't really notice or we don't really know. So today what we are going to do is maybe for like next 10 minutes, whatever the things that our attention goes to, we try to simply know them. We try to simply name them, or we simply try to label them. Probably you can use different categories like this is a thought, this is surrounding sounds, maybe bodily feelings, certain emotions, future planning. That way, a variety of things will grab our attention. We simply are trying to label or notice them or name them. We give them the proper name, the correct name. So you can have a piece of paper and maybe after the 10 minutes you can remember and write whatever the things that you have noticed or labeled. First, we take some time to simply be aware and notice what are the things that grab our attention. Let's say 10 minutes of silent reflection. And after that, we can note down on the piece of paper. So that's the idea. I hope it's clear. First, let's sit in silent reflection and notice where our attention goes. For this, you can gently close your eyes, sit in a comfortable manner. And we are not trying to control our attention. We are not trying to direct our attention. Instead, let's allow the attention to roam freely. And you simply watch where the attention goes. Okay, everyone. Now you can open your eyes again. So that's about 10 minutes of mindful sitting. And today we allowed our attention to roam freely and tried to notice where it went. So let's take some time to label or take notes on where our attention went. Maybe certain thoughts, past incidents, future events, those things grabbed your attention. So you could properly name them, and maybe surroundings, sounds, bodily feelings, tensions, they grab your attention as well. So let's take some time to name or label the things that came to our attention. Okay, everyone. So We can take turns sharing what we have noticed. This is naming or labeling the things that came to our attention.
Avasarai Bante.
Yes, Anupama.
Um, so obviously it's in no particular order. It all just came in randomly. But I could hear noises, first in the distance from the kitchen, and then I could hear like something was being placed by me on the floor. Obviously I had my eyes closed, and the next thing I noticed was I got the smell of coffee. So a coffee mug had been placed next to me by the floor when I opened my eyes. In terms of other sensations, I could feel a pressure on my right ankle. It's kind of painful as well. And then I shifted my weight, and I'm leaning on a cushion. So at one point I noted the pressure of the cushion on my back. In terms of other thoughts, I was recalling a conversation I had with a friend yesterday. And the next thing I know, I'm thinking about chores I have to do today later on. So those kind of thoughts came from the past and going into the future. And just random visions flashed, like faces of people just coming and going. Yeah. And other sensations, yeah, I could feel some mucus in my throat. Sound, there's an odd noise that happens in my headphones, like really low grade, almost like a dripping of water I could hear. So those were the things I jotted down, Bhante.
Yeah, that's a nice observation. And first of all, I would say that it's a blessing to, feel that a coffee was placed next to you by
Yes.
unknown force, some kind of unknown force. Yes, right. That's a good one. And as you can see, a lot of things come to our attention, right? So many things, like, for example, a conversation that you had with a friend, then the impending chores, maybe bodily sensations, pressure on your back, all those things. In addition to that, certain visions, images, they also pass through the field of attention. So you can see it's a rapid process, and most of these things, they don't last that long. It's like a flash, right? But in a way, they go through our attention. So we simply be open to different things that come and simply be mindful. That's the very idea. So this could be the best form of meditation. It's not like we are chasing after things. Instead, they have their own unique time frame. Certain things last longer. Certain things passed in a flash, right? So allow their natural time frame to manifest and simply notice these things. Simply be mindful. That's the very meditation that we can do. In the process, we understand what are the things that grab our attention mostly. So out of your list, I don't think there were anything like major thing that was grabbing or holding your attention. Instead, these things are mainly like day-to-day things that we have to encounter, right?
Yes.
So that's a good observation.
Okay. Thank you,
In
Bhante.
addition, yes, Samantha.
Avasarai Bhante. Yeah, for me, as soon as Bhante said, close your eyes, I went into meditation mode because I thought every time, close my eyes, it just I think my attention just goes like, oh, I've got to meditate now. I can't focus on the breath. But anyway, I started doing that. Well, just sort of like a few moments on the breath. Then my windows open, so I heard like the traffic outside. Then I heard my attention went to some birds chirping. I could hear the birds. It's a morning, so that was could hear that. Then again, I felt the rise and fall of my chest, and focus on the attention just went to the breath. And I thought, oh, this is nice, it's calming. So I like to stay here. The mind just liked to stay there, and I carry on with it. But again, the tension then, I noticed went into thinking. Thoughts came up, and I started thinking, oh, I've got a meeting with the new boss next week. Then I felt a bit sort of like a funny, nervous feeling. I think then I thought, okay, that was a bit heavy in the mind, so I just go back to it just went back to the breath again. So yeah, it was just like that. And then I sort of like noticed the mind was sort of like going from this to the other, and it was feeling a little bit burden and sort of getting agitated. So I thought, oh, I quite like this, just focusing on the breath as much as I can. It was just going that way and keeping it calm. So yeah, that's what I noticed, Bhante.
Okay, right. Thanks. So you can see that you have trained your mind to focus on the breathing, but when you release that grip, in a way, the worries and certain things, certain tensions, they come to the surface, right? So in a way, you have tried to suppress them by paying attention to the breathing time after time. That was your experience. But in today's exercise, we didn't try to control our attention. We allowed it to flow freely and simply noticed what grabbed our attention. So it's natural that these certain tensions, certain incidents, certain future events, they come to our attention, right? Maybe you have a certain attachment to them. Maybe you are a bit excited about that event. So it's naturally they come to the attention. But you have to understand this could be a form of meditation. Not like, always paying attention to the breath. Of course, we introduce the breath as a refuge. We try to keep our attention with that. But when you evolve in meditation, at a certain point you realize simply allow the mind to flow naturally and notice. That could be a form of meditation, and it could, although initially you feel certain kind of a resistance, it could really release your mind and allow it to be peaceful, right? So you have to experiment with this more and more. Try to see how the usual meditation and this differs. Try to see whether this form of meditation is acceptable a little bit more when you practice again and again. If you are not comfortable, of course, you can go back to the breathing that's given. But this way of meditation is simply not doing anything. Simply being, allowing the attention to move freely. Try and see.
Thank you, Bhante. That's really interesting. Sadhu.
Rajika, good to see Rajika after a long time.
අවසරයි පන්තේ තෙරුවන් සරණයි.
Yes.
When I closed my eyes, I heard the TV is working there, and my kids are talking there, and I heard all the noises. And then for a while, I was there, and then automatically, like, my attention goes to the pulse sensation. That's kind of the primary object when I do mindfulness. So and it automatically went there, and it was there for a while, and then my attention went to the something I have to do after the session. I have to cook for one of my friends, and then I was thinking what I'm going to cook, and how I'm going to cook. All those things came into my mind. After that, I realized I'm thinking of how I'm going to explain this in this session once we get this opportunity to talk. And then I heard again the kids are talking, and the TV is working, and then I heard the raining outside. It kind of gave me that cozy feeling. I always like the sound of the rain, the feeling like have a coffee and go to the bed kind of feeling. And then again, in background, I still feel that my pulse sensation is there, and then automatically my attention went in a previous incident that happened in a retreat, because that incident really kind of prominent for me. While I was doing the meditation, someone was snoring in the retreat hall, and that snoring sound kind of took my awareness to some story that the Venerable Lukku Swamin Wahanse was talking on during that Dhamma talk at that time, and then it thought by thought I could remember. So because I don't know, that memory came all of a sudden to my head, and then I heard my son came, and he saw I was just kind of try to be mindful, and he asked my daughter to not to talk. So I heard their discussion happening background, and then I realized for a while I lost. I really can't recall where my mind went. And I think that's it. That's all I could remember. Yes.
Yes, so let's say we try to label or notice the things that grab our attention, and in the process you realize there is another thought process that goes about the labeling, right? So it creates additional thoughts in a way. So you can see this mind, it works in so many different layers. You catch one thing, and in the process you will create something else. That's the very way of this mind. That's how it works, right? So thinking about things that pass through your mind would be the best approach to deal with so many layers of thoughts, right? So, and that's something I noticed in your statement. Try to see how this works, and that way you can find more information about it.
Excuse me, Swaminathan, can you give us a second? Sonali, can you do the recording again?
I did start again. Sorry, I got kicked out of the session for some reason.
Right. Okay. Okay, Swaminathan.
Okay, Chamari, yes.
Thank you, Bhante. I think someone already said how they went into meditation mode. When I close my eyes, I do this now on the train going to work. It just goes into noticing I don't think I'm noticing, the awareness goes into the breath. So that naturally happened. And then
kind of, the mindfulness was with the breath for a while, and that felt peaceful. And then started the past and the future coming in as thoughts. And after the exercise, I realized there was peacefulness, irritation, hopefulness, lots of different emotions that happened in that very short period. And it felt a bit humorous as well. You know, I was just kind of smiling inward. And then the actual exercise felt much less than 10 minutes, maybe like 2 minutes. So that's what I can remember.
Yes, so naturally going to the breathing is fine. That's because you have trained yourself many times to bring attention to the breathing. So that's a good sign that your training works. In a way, initially, the beginners, they struggle to bring their attention to the breathing. They struggle to keep their attention with the breathing. But when you do it repetitively, you can see naturally it comes to the breathing. Naturally, it comes to the steps. So repetitive training has established a way of working, and that's a good thing, right? Whenever we are with the breathing, other things subside and they don't grab our attention much. But later you realize certain things, certain memories, they also come. So you have to allow them some space as well, right? So that way you can continue in your usual practice too. Tarindu, yes.
Saina, Thero. Well, initially, I'll go quick because I was focusing on sounds. I heard my kids talking and the TV and my neighbor walking out from his house and opening the car door, and like he went to somewhere, and I heard two vehicles and two people talking outside and my phone vibrating, and I started hearing all these sounds suddenly. And then the most important sound I heard was my tummy rumbling. I realized I didn't have breakfast. Like, okay, I'm going to sit here for a while and I don't know I'm going to stay that long. And then I was like thinking when Swaminathan is going to ask us to open our eyes, because I was worried about the Zoom live and like whether someone's doing something weird when the video is on, because I usually keep an eye on the videos. And all of a sudden I started coming down. Then I started thinking about the Swindon program, that will be what kind of activities that I have to do and stuff like that, because Swaminathan is on the way to the UK. And then this all happened within a short span of time, and then quickly my attention came back to my breathing, and then I was inside myself, and then everything calmed. And the last few minutes I was focusing on my breath, and the only other thought that popped into my head was the thought of doing the same thing back at Nissarana Vanaya. So I revisited that memory and came back. So that was it for me.
Yeah, so that's for about like 5-10 minutes.
Yeah.
The things that came to your mind, right? So you can see throughout the day, 24/7, this happens. It's like a whole river of thoughts, planning, memories, and certain sensations. So this river flows non-stop, 24/7, right? So you can see how rapid the mind is, how strong the flow is, but little by little we can catch it. We can do better with the meditation. Okay, I think we have one more hand. Yes, Sashini.
Swamין Hansa, Thero Saranai. Swamין Hansa, I frequently encounter with the problem which I face today also. The problem is that I'm having a friend, close friend, who calls me at weekends we talked for about maximum 10 minutes because she's very engaged with her tuition class and all. But throughout the week, most of the time, in my mind, I have a conversation with her. But it is one-sided. She is not replying or responding to it, but I am trying to tell her this and that. But when we meet, no time to express them all. So in vain, that precious time I spend over that. But I must confess that I am observing my footsteps about 6 in a length, and belly movements also about 4 like that. But even then, after during these days, I'm experiencing such a situation in my mind. And you must have heard about the story of a Mecca. That means a story of a plea, which I actually thought that this is the thing which is happening to me also. Always that story about that plea is coming to my mind in the same manner. That same process is in my mind. Always that attention is drawn by that certain person. I don't know whether it's a normal situation or abnormal. Could you please reveal me this about the situation I faced, Swami Hansa. Theron Swami Hansa, thank you, Swami Hansa.
Although I'm having some technical troubles from my side, it is thundering here, so I had to attend to something. Although not. Okay, right, thundering and rain. I couldn't hear some of it. Can someone quickly summarize what she mentioned? Maybe Sonali or somebody, if you can do. Sorry, I couldn't hear because here it's thundering. Thunder and rain.
Yeah, actually, Sonali, we have to come clean, Sonali. We were chatting about it.
Yes, we were actually trying to see why I got kicked out. So
I think I might be able to give a little summary. So I think Ashini was saying that she keeps going back to the same conversation in her head with a friend. And it's a recurring thing she's been observing over the past week. And she referred to, I think there is a story about a Mecca where a child is asked to write an essay on a particular topic, but he keeps going back to talking about this Mecca or a tick. I don't know whether Bante has heard this story. So to her, I think it feels like that. She keeps going back to the same thing, having this conversation in her head with her friend, but she doesn't get the opportunity to do that conversation in real life with her friend. Ashini, I hope I have summarized that okay for you.
Yes, so...
Well, perfect. That's good. It was very nice. Thank you for helping me with that. I think Swami Hansa has got a clear picture out of your words. Thank you very much.
So the story of Mecca, right? Same goes for our mind. Sometimes you can't let go certain things, and time after time it comes and your attention goes there. So in a way, like compulsive way of thinking, compulsive thoughts, all right? So these things are there in our minds, and in a way your mind is not ready to let go of that. That's why it continuously comes to your attention. So you can try to see how long it will take to let go of this certain incident, right? Time after time, it goes to the same thing, the same, similar to that story about Mecca. So that's how the mind works. And what you can do is take your time with it and see whether your mind will be able to let go anytime soon. Okay, I think we have taken so much time for today's activity. With that, we can end that part and move forward. Sonali, yes, you can take.
Thank you, Bante. we don't have a lot of time, but next in the agenda is the talk on today's topic. The topic is the topic we started last week, which is nutrition and mental health. And to start that, I invite again Bhante Dhamma Kusala Thero to start.
Okay, everyone. So here it's thundering and rain. So I hope you can hear me clearly. And this topic, it's an interesting topic. Last time, actually, we discussed about food that we take or feed our body, right? The food that we take, it could be the best form of medicine, or in a way, it could be a poison, the slowest form of poison, right? So that's feeding our body. I think last time we touched it and we discussed that part of this topic. Today I want to bring your attention to the food for mind part. The things that you feed your mind. And this is not like the bodily food that we take. When we feed your body, maybe like 3 main courses, some snacks in between, right? So maybe in total 5-10 times you take, including the drinks, right? So this is the way of feeding your body. But when it comes to mind, that's a different case. The mind you keeps feeding 24/7. Now in today's activity also you have noticed how rapid this process is. Maybe certain thoughts, images, certain incidents, future planning, all those things flow like a river. Then maybe surrounding sounds, bodily tensions, these things come and go. So you can see our mind, it flows like a river. And wherever attention goes to, that's what we feed our mind. Let's say you have certain worrying thoughts. If you keep whirling the same pattern of thoughts again and again, then that's a way of feeding your mind. Right? Wherever your attention goes, that's what you are feeding your mind. So the problem with this type of food is you keep feeding 24/7. It's not like the meals that you take for your body. They happen only so many times per day. But this form of food, it is always happening, or you are always feeding your mind. So that's why it is difficult to control the food that your mind takes. Much easier to control the food that your body takes. But the mind's food, it's not easy because it is always feeding. Whether you keep watch or not, the mind is feeding. It doesn't stop. Whether you do meditation or not, the mind doesn't stop. Whether you are secluded or busy at work, the mind doesn't stop. Whether you are at home or at work, the mind doesn't stop. Right? Continuously, it feeds itself. Certain thoughts, memories, whatever the things that goes your attention to, that's the food that you consume. Right? So in a way, whatever the things that we feed our mind, it could be the safest form of medication, or the slowest form of poison to your mind. Right? You can give medication to your mind, or you can give poison to your mind. It is up to you. Yesterday, I was going through a talk that was done by one of the doctors related to Satipasala, and she was talking whether the things are positive or not, it doesn't matter. Under the topic of neuroplasticity, you can either do positive things, positive changes, or you can either do negative changes. The same mechanism works, whether it's positive or negative, right? So whatever the food that you feed, it doesn't matter whether it's a positive or negative. According to that food, the mind will evolve, right? So that's why at a certain time period, let's say within a couple of years, you can develop a depression. You start feeding certain negative trends, and you keep feeding it for certain time, and without you even knowing, you have developed a depression, right? So that happens. You were fine a couple of years ago, but now you struggle to breathe. You struggle to survive. So that is the same mechanism working against you, right? So this is a complicated process. The mind is so fast and at work 24/7. So you have to be, in a way, careful about what you feed your mind. You have to notice what are the things that you feed. You have to be careful with it. Otherwise, you might be poisoning your mind, right? Or you can use it as a form of medication to your mind. So what our solution would be, simply being mindful. This is a very complicated process. As I said earlier, initially you think like, I won't do this, I have to stop these thoughts. Then there will be thoughts about stopping those thoughts. Then you notice, I tried to stop these thoughts, and as a result, I created more thoughts about stopping, right? So not thinking doesn't work like that. You think to yourself that I won't think. But next moment you realize, now I am thinking about not thinking. Then after a while, again you realize, then now there is a third loop. Thinking about the thoughts that are not thinking. Again, trying to get rid of them, right? So it's a never-ending kind of a process. Initially there are thoughts, then there are thoughts to stop those thoughts, then there are thoughts to stop those thoughts from manifesting, right? So you can see so many layers, so many loops are there in this mind. So trying to think and trying to control it, it doesn't work. But our solution would be simply to be mindful about so many loops that's at work. Simply to be mindful about so many layers that's at work, right? So initially that might be kind of difficult, but with repetitive practice, you are able to simply observe what is happening. It's like a river that flows. So many things come and go. You simply try to notice them. Simply try to be mindful. Right? So that very way of practicing would be the solution to create positive changes within you. Create positive changes in your mind. Whether you do it or not, it doesn't matter, right? The mind is at work. Either you do it and make positive changes, or otherwise the mind will flow according to its natural rhythm, usually negative. It's like the water. It flows to the lower grounds. That's the nature of water, right? Same goes for the mind. If you don't actively do this training, the mind usually goes to the negative things easily. It will create negative traits in you. You keep thinking about certain worries, and the worries multiply. Right? So this way you can see how the mind is feeding itself. Whether you like it or not, it happens. Whether you meditate or not, it happens. So it's high time that we create some positive influence in this. We try to create positive changes in this. By being mindful, you can feel this. When you try to practice, let's say, a few minutes of mindful sitting, within few minutes, you can feel that you are relaxed. Even today, you have mentioned, you have noticed these signs. First, the body relaxes. You can see certain tensions release. Tightened muscles, they release in the body. Soon, in your mind also, the tension releases and you can feel a certain level of peace. Right? So you can see few minutes of mindful practice will create this peaceful environment. So that's a sign that this practice will influence the mind in a positive way. Now, a couple of weeks ago, I came across this idea that there were some idea about, managing your anxiety or excitement. When you're anxious or when you're excited, they suggest you yawn forcefully. When you yawn forcefully, that very activity will flood your brain with certain happy chemicals, which will allow you to release your anxious nature a little. Right? So it's like forcefully yawning, opening your mouth wide and open and yawn in a forceful manner. And as a result, that anxious nature will release a bit. That's their suggestion, right? But when you sit in meditation, maybe some of you have already experienced, within few minutes, you start yawning naturally. And your eyes tear up, right? So these things happen. These things are signs that your brain is flooded with happy chemicals. And that's why those processes happen, right? So instead of forcefully yawning, the meditation will create happy chemicals in you, and in the process, the body will naturally yawn, right? So these things, you can feel them. Within few minutes of mindful sitting, you can feel how relaxed you are, influencing your mind in a positive manner, right? So that way of practice will create more and more such influences, will influence your mind in a positive manner, will create a positive atmosphere in it. And that positivity will increase with time. Those traits will increase, strengthen with time. That's the very idea. So whether you like it or not, the process in this mind, it's at work. Whether you like it or not, let's say you are meditating, right? You have to make sure that it's a positive meditation. If it's a negative meditation, it's a form of poison that you're feeding your mind. If it's a positive meditation, then that's a form of medication that you feed in your mind, right? So you decide whether to feed positive things or whether to feed negative things, whether to feed poison or whether to feed medicine. That's up to you, right? So it's always happening, 24/7 it's happening. That's why we say for the practitioners, formal meditation is good, but you can't stop there. You can do a sitting session daily, you can do a few minutes of mindful walking daily, but rest of the time, your mind is continuously at work, right? Whether you meditate or not, it's at work. So if you try to be mindful, then that too becomes a form of medicine, your day-to-day activities. If you encourage unmindfulness, then that becomes a form of poison. That is how it works. So what are we doing? We try to feed medicine instead of poison. How to feed it? You simply be mindful. Mindfulness will create medicine. Unmindfulness will create poison. That's the very idea, right? So being mindful, it's not that difficult. You don't have to always fix your attention on the body. Simply being aware. Okay, these thoughts come and go. These incidents come to my mind. I'm thinking about this person repetitively. That very awareness will help. That very awareness is enough. In your daily activities, if I ask you to bring your attention to the body, if I ask you to fix your attention to the body, that's not reasonable. It's not gonna work. You have to do your things. So what we suggest is simply being aware that these things come and go. Simply being aware, this is the status of my mind. Simply being aware, these are the thoughts I get. That very awareness will save you. That very awareness will create the medicine in you. Right? So that is the very idea. This type of food, it's a bit complicated. It's so rapid. The food for mind, right? But it's happening. Whether you like it or not, it's happening. Right? 24/7 you are feeding your mind. So you better make it a medicine instead of a poison. Again and again, you have to see what are the things that you give attention to. Now, even during your activity, you have noticed most of these things, they don't last. It's like a flash, right? So you don't have to worry about those things. They don't last, no. They come and go like a flash. Certain images come and go like a flash. Certain thoughts come and go like a flash. They don't occupy your attention much, right? But there are certain things that occupies your attention. For example, let's say a worrying kind of a thought. These people are after me. They are trying to get back at me. That type of thinking. Let's say there are a couple of people at your work. and you always think that they are after you, they are trying to get back at you. So what happens? Today you think, tomorrow also the same thoughts manifest. Day after tomorrow you see that person and again the thoughts are triggered. So this way, time after time, you feed the same type of negative thinking patterns. And these things, they linger in your attention. It's not like they come and go like a flash. No, sometimes they occupy your attention for hours daily. And what happens as a result? You will create that type of world around you. Worrying thoughts, being in fear about outside dangers. That type of a mentality you will develop. That is the issue with these things. Whatever that grabs your attention, that becomes your world. You give your attention to negative things, you manifest a negative world around you. Right? There could be other people, they are trying to get back at you. True. But still, if you give them attention, if you give them so much of a portion of your precious attention, that very process will fuel a negative chain reaction. It will create this fearful negative world around you. Let's say there are other people, they are trying to get back at you, but you simply stay positive. What happens? They try, they gossip, they try to get back at you, but still your mind is uninfluenced. That's the very idea. There is so much negativity in this world. If you keep paying attention to it, then it will manifest bigger and larger. You know that there is negativity. You know that there are these people, but you don't give much attention to them. Don't make them an important part of your life. That's the thing, right? All those negative things, negative people, don't make them an important part of your life. The best thing you can do is simply ignore them. Ignore the negative things. Ignore the negative people. That's the best thing you can do. Otherwise, they become the main character in your life. You always think about them. Negative, but still you keep thinking. You keep blaming them. Right? So they grab so much of your attention. In a way, they are very important to you. That's the issue. Right? So you give attention and that becomes your world. It's that simple. So what we are suggesting is, know that these negative people are there, but don't give them much attention. Know that these negative things are there, but don't make them a priority. Right? That way, if you are wise about your attention, if you choose wisely which things that you should give your attention, then I am sure within few months, you can really turn your mind around. You will create a positive atmosphere and no negativity can touch it. There's so much negativity in the world, but they can't touch it. Because you have created this positive atmosphere, you choose wisely where to give your attention to. Right? So that's the very idea. I hope you get it. And thanks for listening.
Thank you, Bhante. We will quickly move on to the reports today. And for this, I invite Anupama.
Thank you, Sonali. Avasarai Bante. I hope you can hear me clearly. We have one report sent in by an adult today, which I commence to read. Venerable Swamin Vahansa, mindful walking. I observed footsteps, labeling them as left and right. I felt the hardness and the wetness of the floor. Thoughts streamed to my mind. Then again my attention was grabbed by the roughness of the gravel. I heard chirping of birds. At both edges of the walking path, I did a body scan. When doing that, the thoughts didn't disturb me much. Mindful sitting. I sat and my body was like a statue. My mind was agitated, so I listened to the sounds of the nature. Then naturally my attention went to the movements of the abdomen. I could observe about 6 breaths in a length. Then I started to proliferate. As soon as I was aware of it, I could feel the hardness of the seat. Theruwan Saranai Utum Swamin Wahanse. End of report.
Yeah, that's the thing. So you catch that there are proliferations in your mind, and soon you can feel the hardness of the gravel, right? So that's the way the proliferations happen time after time, but you become aware and soon you return home, right? So that's there in your report. That's what you have to do. Whether it's a body scan, whether it's paying attention to the feet, it doesn't matter. You catch the proliferations and soon you return home. The body is like the home for your attention. You have to introduce this home. You have to become familiar with it. Time after time, you have to return to this home. And you train yourself with it for many months, many years. And then you realize the mind, now it knows its home. Without your influence, the mind naturally returns to the home. That's why even today's discussion, somebody mentioned that naturally the attention goes to the breath. Why? What is the reason? There are so many other things, interesting things, colorful things. They are like, fast food for your attention, right? But naturally the attention returns to home, to the breathing, to the steps. It's like eating healthy. But why does it return? You have trained yourself for many months, many years. As a result, the attention knows where it should be, right? That's the very idea. That's how you can face your death. Imagine dying. It's not going to be easy, I can predict, right? So you'll have to leave all your loved ones. You'll have to leave everything that you have gathered. And there might be so much pain in your body. The mind is all over the place. You are crying, you feel so sad, right? The surrounding people, they are also crying. So imagine such a situation. It's not easy to die, right? And at your deathbed, I don't think you can meditate. It won't be easy, it won't be possible, right? So how to face death? You have to train your mind before that comes. You have to train it repetitively. You have to train your mind into a level that it will return to home naturally. It will return to the present moment naturally. No matter how strong these thoughts are, time after time, the mind will come crashing down to the present moment. No matter how strong these emotions are, time after time, the mind will come crashing down to the present moment. No matter how painful the bodily pains, aches are, time after time, the mind crashes down to the present moment. That's the power of the training, repetitive training. Maybe for many years, many decades, you have done repetitive training, and that's how you can really face your death. Otherwise, we are lost. We are emotional. We are lost in thoughts. We feel the pain and we become fearful. We faint. All those things come. But if you train your mind to come to the home to your attention, if you introduce it properly, if you train it repetitively, then I'm sure no matter whatever the situation, the mind will find itself back to the home. That's the very idea. So in your report also there are signs, but you have to do many more years of training. Don't take it as a burden, just take it as a daily part of your life. Couple of hours daily, do the practice, then do your other things, go work, earn yourself, that's okay. Again, tomorrow, you can do couple of hours meditation. That way, if you continue for many years, then I'm sure you'll be ready to face whatever the situation.
Thank you, Bhante, for those very insightful words. We may have a time for one question, if anybody in the audience has any. Yes, we've got Bandula with the hand up. If you can kindly unmute yourself and ask your question, please.
Thank you, Anupama. Asra Bhante. I got two questions actually. One is about the yawning. So today's exercise at the beginning, I felt about 10 times yawning. So I never thought it is a good thing. Your talk, you mentioned the yawning is good actually. Yeah, the brain is happy. The next one is today's exercise. Is it a good thing to do daily? Without thinking, or let the mind to talk for 10 minutes and free up whatever its emotions, everything. So I thought it's a very nice exercise. So was it okay to do daily? The other thing is about the chain thought. So I was thinking, who makes the chain thought, or where does it get its power? Like energy for the chain thought. Is it I, or is it brain, or is it habitual? Thank you, Bhante.
Okay, the very first one, yes, so yawning. So that info I found, it's some kind of a research or something. So they are suggesting the reverse logic. Your brain is not really happy, but you yawn forcefully for many times, for a couple of times, and as a result, the reverse logic getting activated, right? But in meditation, what happens is your brain is flooded with happy chemicals, and as a result, you yawn, not the other way around, right? So it works both ways, right? Anxious, excited, you can try this and see. Wide open your mouth and see, forcefully do a couple of huge yawns and try to see whether it helps. But in meditation, you can naturally see the brain relaxes, it is flooded with happy chemicals, and as a result, you yawn. Sometimes for many rounds, many times, right? That happens. The eyes, they tear up. That happens, right? So those are signs that the brain is flooded with happy chemicals and your mind and body is relaxing. So that's one thing. Then the second one is, yes, you can try this exercise, and it's in a way the best form of meditation, but some of you might not be able to absorb it yet, right? You will blame, saying that there are so many thoughts coming. I can't, keep my attention with the breathing. Many thoughts, memories, things I am lost, and these things I can't bear. Those type of complaints come, right? But in a way, simply being, doing nothing. That's the best form of meditation. If you get used to it, then I'm sure you'll be much more comfortable approaching your meditation this manner, right? But in order to accept it, you have to have a certain background. You have to have a certain level of training. Otherwise, you will say that you can't bear the things that come up. Even somebody was telling that they couldn't stay for the sitting session more than 10 minutes. And I asked why. That person was saying the thoughts are coming, it was unbearable, so they had to open their eyes. The natural things that come up, you can't bear them. So what to do? You have to break it, right? Then tomorrow again the same thing happens. Can you last little longer tomorrow? You can try and see. Day after tomorrow, right? That way, repetitive training, little by little, you expose yourself to these things and develop the endurance to, somehow bear them. That's the very idea. So try and see if you get the proper hang of it. I'm sure you will be much better off meditating this way. Then the train thoughts, they come, right? So we are not trying to ask the question, where does it come? Or why does this happen? That's not our way of thinking. That's not Buddha's approach, right? Buddha's approach is, it doesn't matter when this was created. Whether it was created by someone, whether it was the cause and effect kind of a thing, it doesn't matter. Those questions will waste your time. Buddha says, you have a problem. The problem is what you're explaining. Chain thoughts, train thoughts, pain, sorrow, sadness, melancholy, all these things. This is our problem. The very existence, that's a problem. So Buddha says, you have a problem. It doesn't matter how the problem arose. That's not our priority. You have a problem and this is the solution, right? He's giving a solution. Very nice approach he's having, right? You have a problem, instead of finding the root or finding the reasoning behind this problem, he will give you a solution to solve this problem. He won't waste his time explaining where this problem arose, when this problem arose. He won't answer those questions. That's why in Buddha's teachings, in that ancient society, there were like 10 popular questions. But those 10 questions, Buddha never answered. He refused answering those questions. He said, that's not my priority. Instead, you have a problem, he will give you a solution to your problem. Right? So that's the best approach towards this. You have a problem. You feel pain, you feel suffering, all these worrying thoughts, anxiety, stress, those things are there, right? So that's our problem. And Buddha says, by meditation, through meditation, you can solve this problem. That's all we need to know. That's all we need. We prioritize that and we simply try to find or follow the path of that solution. Okay, right.
Thank you, Bhante.
I think, thank you, Bhante, and thank you, Bandula, for asking that question. Certainly very helpful to all of us. I think our time is up for today, Sonali. So I will hand over to you now.
Thank you, Anupama. I think it's almost 10 o'clock, so we will finish our session for today. Thank you to everyone who shared your reports and obviously took part in the activity earlier and shared your thoughts and experiences. On behalf of the organizers, I would like to thank Venerable Dhamma Kusala Thero for his continued guidance on this program and keeping it going and encouraging all of us. We can't also forget Chief Abbot of Nissarana Vanaya, Venerable Vidyaregama Dhammajiva Mahathero, whose idea was to initiate this program. May this merit help them improve their own practice as well. And thank you to all the organizers who are working really hard behind the scene, keeping this going and bringing it to you every week. Thank you to everyone who's live streaming or watching it later as well. So as usual, we will meet at 1 p.m. in Sri Lankan time, and may you all have a happy and mindful week ahead. I will now end the session for everyone.